there's a new subgenre that's really been catching fire that's called litRPG. Have you heard of this?
No.
What
Okay. So it's RPG, like role-playing games, literature. litRPG. But it's not literature. This stuff is not well written at all. But it's essentially reading a video game. So you would, the story, like you would open it and the person would be like, I opened my eyes and a button is flashing in front of me. It's a quest giver. He's giving me my first quest and I have to go get a bow and arrow and I take my steps. It's literally like articulating playing a video game. Okay, so litRPG. Anyway, the takeaway is litRPGs are catching fire.
Okay.
New subgenre that's really, really popular now. And this guy that I'm talking to, he's like, what's so interesting about this subcategory on Amazon is that there's way more readers than there are creators. There's a lot more people who want to read litRPGs than there are people writing it. So I spent an hour and I was just like going through the bestseller list of litRPGs. And I'm like, wow, this is a really great example of this niche is starting to grow. The writing quality is pretty low. It's like very indie. The cover design is really low. It's very indie. And if you were to go into that subcategory, but with some money or with some funding and be like, we're going to elevate the writing, we're going to elevate the stories, we're going to elevate the book covers, we're going to elevate the branding. And then you sort of incorporate all the stuff that we know and talk about where like you had a litRPG specific newsletter to create that flywheel. You had a paid newsletter, you had like a digital product, like you created that whole value ladder, but it's all centered around this one very, very, very specific subgenre in Kindle Unlimited. I see a lot of potential in building super niche, like publishing houses where like, I was even just entertaining the idea for us where like, what would that take? That would literally take, you could hire a writer, you could pay them because they get to write what they love. You could pay them like $5,000, $6,000 a month, $7,000 a month. They write those stories full time. Each cover you invest $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 into, but your upside, because you potentially could own this subgenre. There are books, just for context, because I have a tool that looks this up. There are litRPG books right now doing like $250,000 a month.
This is why I love you, because I would never in my entire life think about something like this. But now I have 100 ideas that would go deeper.
Let's go.
Because if you zoom out, what you just said was identifying opportunities where the supply and demand are mismatched, but specifically in the literary world, right? So my head goes, how do you find all of the subgenres where there is more demand than current supply? And so you identified that because you have niche expertise, but almost, you mentioned there's a tool of these books doing high amounts of revenue. How do you build something else that goes, okay, here's the search volume and then the number of books in that category where there's a mismatch? That's where you insert the niche publishing house and go, okay, cool. This is underserved. We're going to staff this one and monetize that mismatch until it's like finding arbitrage within the Kindle Direct publishing market. Interesting.
Yeah. So that's exactly where my head went to, which was, how do you build a SaaS tool that does that, except you don't want to sell that SaaS tool because you want to build the publishing houses yourself. So you build an internal tool.
So there's a tool called Publisher Rocket, and it's made by this guy. This guy owns a website. Talk about an amazing niche website.
Yeah, wow.
Called the site's called something self-publishing, and basically, or kindlepublishing.com or something. And all he does is talk about publishing via Kindle on Amazon. Super niche, but like really lucrative site. And he built this SaaS tool where you can type in any book, any subcategory, anything, and it shows you the search volume. It shows you the average estimated sales of that book. It shows you like keyword competition. So I'm obsessed with this tool. Like once a month, I'll just open it up and be like, what is this book doing? I just want to see. But the mistake, I think there's two mistakes that people make, because people have been doing this where you like look at search volume and then you're like, okay, I'm just going to write a book for this. The mistake that I see is one is the person sees that opportunity and then goes, okay, I'm just going to go write one book for that keyword or that subcategory. And then I'm going to do it again in a different subcategory and then do it again and then do it again. And you don't ever have density in one. You're just sort of bouncing around to like the next SEO opportunity. Whereas I see more opportunity in going, this subcategory is exploding, litRPG. I don't want to just write one book in that category. I want to write 100 books in that category. So you just flood the density of that one subcategory. And then second is when people do this, they're more entrepreneurial than they are like publisher or writerly. So what happens is they identify an opportunity, but then they publish a low quality book with a low quality cover in that subcategory. So even if it makes a little money, it's like, it just looks like it's all the same thing. Whereas if you spend some time going through these subcategories, you're like, it's really clear, Penguin Random House isn't in this subcategory. So you have an opportunity to go, I'm going to walk in here and essentially look like a major publisher is taking this over, but it doesn't cost that much money. The reason people don't do it is because most writers don't have the money to do that. One of the growing trends in gaming is that more and more women are coming into the category. So it used to be, or at least the perception was like 80-20,
Dude, if you heard a girl's voice in like Call of Duty.
Oh, you were like
in the lobby, you was like, oh, what? What's going on? Get out of here.
I remember the days.
Sorry
being
for
14 on the
screwing
internet. Yeah. And, but now it's like 50-50. And so if you pair that with the fact that the majority of book readers and book bingers are female, I think having female-oriented lit RPGs could be a fascinating subcategory and differentiator. Because I was scrolling through and every single book cover is like male enters game world, defeats dragon. Okay, where's the female market in that is interesting. And then a third stat, I can't remember what it is directly, but it's something like Kindle Unlimited subscribers, because you have part of the subscription is you can read any book in Kindle Unlimited, like for free, part of your subscription basically. They read something like 8 to 12 plus books a month. And so like the romance category, these women that are binging these books, they literally will read one of like Colleen Hoover's. She's like one of the best-selling romance novelists. I study everything. I like to know everything about this shit. She's moving like millions of copies, and her readers are literally reading one of her books a week, if not every 3 days. So there is tremendous demand, and even the most prolific writers that are just cranking it out. Like, what's the fastest you could crank out a book? One a month, maybe one every 2 weeks. If you're just like, screw everything, just put it out. So if you pair all that together and go female-oriented, like main character, lit RPGs in Kindle Unlimited, multiplied by 100 books with digital product or some sort of subscription on the back end, I don't know, man.
I can tell you with 100% certainty, there's no one doing that. So there's no competition, which is always a good thing.
Okay, just to entertain the shiny object, there's part of me that's like, what is the real cost to test that idea? Couple grand a month maybe. And then you could put out 12 books, like one a month, and you get a year of data. And if you're wrong, you burn, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, 50 grand. If you're right, that's like an entire new business. Because when one of those pops, what naturally happens is then all of the readers go, well, I really liked that. What are the other books in this subcategory? LTV gets longer and longer. Dude, when you see the math on these books, it's mind blowing.
So what is the math on these books? Just because I don't know.
I mean, there are books as big, and these are like indie authors. They're a conservative, like my book is doing well, could go 20, 30, 40, 50 grand a month on Amazon. The books that really explode and pop are 100 grand, 200 grand, 300 grand a month. It's nuts.
And how long does that last? Is that just like, for 4 months, it's 100 grand or 200 grand? Or
I think it depends, but I think on average, it probably pops to that for around like 3, maybe 6 months. And then it levels off and hits some sort of plateau. But there are series that, or like even just the author as their whole library. That's like, yeah, I have 50 or 100 books in my library and my portfolio does 200 grand a month.